A brilliant engineer builds a weapon to bring a city back from its ruins. He uses it in a town in China and wakes up the greatest demon. He attempts to undo his acts. Will he succeed? Hello, today, Anytime will show you the recap of an anime titled The Invincible Iron Man. Spoiler alert. Watch out and take care. In China, Tony Stark takes over a new project for free, even without the consent of his board members. He sends his best friend, Mr. Rhodes, called Rhodey, to watch over the project while he remains in America. However, it's worthy of note that a group of people in China who call themselves the Jade Dragons are firmly against this project, and they have disturbed the work for a long time. The project is to raise the ruins of Mandarin, an ancient god in Chinese. At the movie's beginning, the head of the construction team in China, Mr. Ling, complains to Rhodey as regards how slow the project is going. He tells Rhodey that Tony promised they would get it as fast as possible, and it will go well. Rhodey reminds Ling of the Jade Dragon's attack and how much it has affected their project. He acknowledges that Tony says many meaningless things, but he will do his part to ensure the project is a success. The truck for materials arrives, and Rhodey wonders if the ammunition he asked for is available. He attempts to call Tony to confirm if Tony removed ammunition from his list, and as he makes the call, the Jade Dragons arrive with weapons, injuring some of the workers. He's fine, so he calls Tony. On the other hand, Tony is with a lady having fun in this home pool. The lady sees the call, but she doesn't want anything to disturb her fun time, so she ends it. Rhodey calls again, so Tony reluctantly picks up. He tells Rhodey he's busy, but Rhodey informs him the ruins have been attacked again. He asks if Tony removed his request for ammunition and insists that if they do not fight back, the Jade Dragons will kill them all. However, Tony believes the Jade Dragon does not want to kill anyone. He says that if they also deploy ammunition, people will die, and the fight will no longer be fair. Rhodey reminds him he isn't there and doesn't know what he's going through, so Tony promises he will find time to come. Rhodey reminds Tony that that promise is like his third, but he reassures Rhodey that he will come soon. Later, Tony attends his company stakeholders meeting. As he arrives at the door, his assistant, Pepper, tells him he's 45 minutes late, and the stakeholders are angry. He also refuses to wear a suit and asks to go casual. As he enters, one of the stakeholders complains about how he leads the company. He says that Tony has no regard for the stakeholders and he will turn all their requests into jokes. However, the man tells Tony he won't escape that day's query. He tells him the meeting is to revert to one of their mistakes, accepting him as their chairman. He says he was never in support for the act, and now that everyone knows it's a mistake, it should be corrected. On the other hand, Tony asks what his mistake is. The stakeholder tells him his first mistake is the China project he took over with the company money for free, and Tony explains that the project gave them more projects from the government. They should appreciate him for doing it. He shows them the documents of the other projects he had gotten from the Chinese government. It seems as though that's not enough to take away his faults. The stakeholder insists he should be removed. He tries to talk to his father, Howard. As regards to this, Howard can't support him. Howard asks the stakeholders to vote regarding his removal, and almost everyone votes. Eventually, he's removed, although his father has regrets. That evening, the team in China completes their work with Rhodey as the supervisor. He commands that they start with the sonic vibration. The sonic vibration brings out the ruins of Mandarin. As they work, Rhodey asks why some groups in the country are against bringing back the ruins of Mandarin. Ling informs him that it's because Mandarin is the most wicked of all the gods, and the people fear that if his temple is brought back, he might continue his fearful reigns. On the other hand, the Jade Dragons prepare for a great attack. As they are about to attack, their head, Master Chu, calls a reluctant female soldier, Li Mei, who doesn't want to fight the battle. He tells Li Mei that she must kill anyone he asks her to kill if she doesn't want to die at his hands. They start throwing bombs around and shooting. As Rhodey goes out to see what's happening outside, he sees Li Mei pointing a gun at him. He hits her, and she falls off. He goes nearer to her to look at her, and unfortunately, Chu shoots him with the gun. He collapses and wakes up in the Jade Dragon quarters. He asks what they want from him, but they tell him they want Tony. As expected, Tony gets the news about the raid. He assures that Rhodey is safe and asks Pepper to contact Rhodey. However, Pepper tells him Rhodey has been kidnapped. He takes a flight to China immediately. As he enters the city, they see a blockage. He asks his team to drive around the truck, and they drive towards a corner with the J-Dragons attacking them. They throw a bomb at his car, which explodes. He faints. They carry him into the J-Dragon quarters. The shaman informs Master Chu that Tony's heart has been affected and Tony will die soon. Chu threatens the shaman. He says he will also die if Tony dies. As he's about to leave, he sees Li Mei has compassion for Tony. He warns her and puts a gun on her head. She stands without fear, and he comments she should add that courage to battle too. He brings up her sleeve and shows her the dragon sign on her hand to remind her of her duty. In the room, Rhodey tells the shaman that they must save Tony. He tells the shaman he's in the army medics and they can do something. That night, the guard looking at the Mandarin temple sees God and his 4 elementals reviving themselves from the statue. They go towards the heavens, and when the man calls Chu, they attack him. Eventually, they attach a hard disk to Tony's body, and he wakes up. Li Mei enters the room, gives Tony water, and when he's about to speak to her, she leaves. She goes outside and thinks about her father. She remembers that her father told her she was useless and she wasn't a male, and he regrets giving birth to her. The news of the elemental acts disturbed Chu, who determines that he will make Tony change what he has caused. The shaman tells Tony that there has been a prophecy as regards the temple, and the prophecy says that the elementals will go around and find the 4 rings to bring back Mandarin, and they have presently found 2. One of the rings is with the Jade Dragons. He draws out the location of the 4 rings and gives the drawing to Tony. Chu comes and tells Tony he must build something to destroy the ruins again. He tells him the fiber steel used can't be destroyed, and angrily, Chu kills the shaman. He gives Tony a week to build something to destroy the steel, else Rhodey will die. They start building a macrobiotics nullifier. During the project, he speaks with Li Mei and asks her why she's involved in all this. She informs him that it's a duty passed from father to son, and her father needed a son but couldn't get one, so the duty passed to her. She tells him her aim and purpose of living, but she doesn't tell her duty. About a week after, Chu comes to ask for an update. He tries the nullifier they have been building, but it doesn't work. He shoots at Rhodey angrily, making Li Mei kill her master. The other Jade Dragons arrive to kill Tony, but he changes into an Iron Man armor and attacks them. He asks Li Mei to go with him, but she refuses. As he leaves, Li Mei checks the prophecy picture and sees that Tony is dressed in the armor of the person predicted to kill the Mandarin. She refuses that the prophecy has come into reality. As Tony and Rhodey return home, the police attempt to arrest them for selling weapons to the Jade Dragons. They escape, and as they do, Tony sees the same drawing the shaman gave him in a newspaper. He's determined to see the end of this happening. He calls Pepper, who sneaks him into the office. He takes them to a secret room in his office where he has prepared several iron armor. Since the location of the next ring is in the Atlantic, he wears armor suitable for water and goes to confront elementals. He fights them and loses. He returns to the office, tells Rhodey how much horror his mission has caused, and goes to confront his father. He asks his father why his father released the ammunition Rhodey requested. As if it wasn't released, he wouldn't have been wanted. The authorities arrest Pepper. Rhodey, on the other hand, finds the location of the 4th ring in the volcano. He tells Tony this, but Tony tells him there's no way they can leave. Rhodey offers to distract the authorities so that Tony can go. Tony goes to the volcano, fights the elementals, and kills 3, leaving only the Earth Mover. He takes the 4th ring, but there's no way he can return to his office. He meets Li Mei, who helps him find their way to get an armor. They go to destroy the tomb, and he fights the Earth Mover. He gets the 4 rings, gives them to Li Mei, and suggests that the 5th one may be in the tomb. But Li Mei tells him the last ring is with her. She's the last heir of Mandarin, and her duty is to ensure his return. She tells him she warned him to leave, and she was even the one that sent his documents to the authorities. She enters the temple while Tony fights all the dragons that come against him. He goes to meet her to convince her, but she's already Mandarin. She attacks him, but he keeps calling for her. He says he knows she's still there, and she should come out. She returns to her senses and throws away all the rings until Mandarin turns to stone, and they hug each other. At the movie's end, the Chinese government clears Tony of all his charges. He buys off the shares of all the shareholders, makes Rhodey the head of engineering department, and gives the company's leadership to his father, who fires all the stakeholders immediately. Thanks for watching the recap. Kindly subscribe to our channel to get notified when we post the next recap. See you next time.